How much do you love your life?
Lots.
Do you really think about it very much? Or do we only think about it when we're faced with loss, either the possibility of losing our lives or losing someone we love? Life is tenuous, and sometimes we take for granted what we have. But sometimes we have a moment that kind of transcends ordinary life, and we realize that every moment of our life is precious, regardless of how it appears to us in the moment. I had a dream. I wish kind of it had been not a dream, because I know some people have had this experience in waking life, but it felt really real. I was in this arid canyon, like a Grand Canyon kind of scenario, with a group of people, a large group, and some of them were old and elderly. They couldn't get out. It was a very difficult place to get out of. So 4 of us volunteered to try to get out, to come get help. So I was a man in this dream, which is kind of unusual these days. The 4 of us men headed out over this rugged landscape, climbing this steep hill. We got to a place where we had to cross a very steep, slanting piece of shale-like rock. And it was so steep we couldn't walk on it. We had to kind of inch out on our butts and use our hands and our feet to stay on. And none of us felt guaranteed to make it to the other side. And on the other side was just more arid canyon that looked rugged and rocky and hopeless. But just as I was getting to one edge of that steep slope of rock that jutted out over a big pile of rocks that had bounced down into the canyon from the top. And from there, another 20 feet on, there was just an abyss that went down another 100 feet. I felt the rock underneath me start to slip. And I knew it was gonna come loose. And looking over, I could see that my 3 companions also knew that that piece of rock was going, and I was going with it. And the horror on their faces that they couldn't do anything about it. But as it slid out from under me, I was able to grab something behind me and hold on. And in the exact same moment that happened, their piece of rock also started to move. And none of them were able to grab anything behind them. So the horror changed places, and I watched helplessly as they started a very quickly escalating slide down that slope and went off the end. But somehow landed on that big pile of rock down there without the slab breaking up and without anybody being hurt. Meanwhile, I looked to my left where I'd been trying to get, and it all had looked hopeless. Somebody had created a lovely path. Like conservation corps had been there, and I got down and reached out, and we got everybody off the rock. And then when we looked up, instead of everything being hopeless, there was a beautiful forest. There was a meadow with a spring running through it, and wildflowers and green grass. And as we were standing there with our hearts pounding, still trying to get over what we had just been through, this massive bull elk came out of the woods. This wasn't a Disney movie elk. It was a real bull elk. It had a massive garland of flowers around its neck. And it started singing. It didn't start bugling like an elk. It didn't start singing Disney songs. It started vibrating with the joy of being alive. It had its own unique song, and it permeated the entire area where we were. And as it sang, other animals came out of the woods, and they were also singing, and each one had its own song. It was like a chorus of frogs, you know, but instead of all sounding the same, just at a little different time, a different pitch, they were all singing their own unique song, the wildflowers, the trees. Everything was so happy to be alive. And we felt in that moment our oneness with that joy that underlies everything. But as we set off through the woods, that feeling started to fade, and I didn't want to let it go. We came to a place where there was a huge restaurant. Don't ask me, it was a dream. Huge restaurant. As we walked through, 2 of our